mean, if you study history, people have been believing in, all these music, arts, architecture, everything came based on the premise of the belief that God existed, right? A godless world isn't going to give you any.
No,
How do you,
it
you know,
doesn't make any sense. Tell me one thing that an atheist can't do that a believer in Christianity can do.
if this was a godless world, we wouldn't be having music. All type of music came from the worship of God, like even Hindu, Islamic. Islam may have, yeah, but Hindu, Zoroastrianism, Babylonian, Western, all music was based on, worship, some type of worship of God.
So, so was wet ass pussy? What does that have to do with God? How
What
did
is
Cardi B presuppose the existence of God when she wrote wet ass
no?
pussy?
Okay, because she is living in this postmodern age, which is based on, the music is based on the, I don't know, the rock and roll, which is again based on the classical Western
Okay,
music.
so by all music, you didn't mean all music. So you just think the invention of music could not have happened if it
Not
weren't
just
for.
the, we can sing anytime, but the, based on the, what is it called? I don't know, the notes and things like that, the codified notes. All music. Even in Hindu. I'm Indian actually, so in India, most of the classical music was based on worship of their gods. And I think the same for Greek and Babylon. In China, I don't know, in China maybe, but yeah, also dancing also was, even in Bible it is mentioned that Solomon, King David
Okay,
danced.
so you think that if we raised a group of people on an island and nobody ever talked to these people ever, they would never dance or make music?
They might dance, but not like the, not with an aesthetic that human mind can. If you, you can dance however you want, but it does have to make an appeal,
Can
right,
you
to the
leave
other
your
people.
friends behind?
Sorry.
You said you can dance if you want to. Can you leave your friends behind?
Any art form has to be have an appeal, right?
So, no, the question is you said you can dance if you want to. I'm just asking if you can also leave your friends behind.
No, I didn't mention anything about friends.
I know this is just, it's a slightly separate question. Can you leave your friends behind?
Okay, yeah, you can dance solo, right?
Okay, would you say that if somebody's friends don't dance, then they would not be your friends?
No.
So you're saying you can dance if you want to, and you can leave your friends behind, and if your friends don't dance, and then they don't dance, well, then they're no friends of yours.
I
That's
don't
just to
know
be
what
clear,
you're
that's what
saying.
you're saying.
Okay, yeah, I don't know where this is going. They are not friends of friends of. I'm just confused. But I'm
That, yeah,
saying
don't
based
worry
on
about it.
paleo, based on anthropological, I think even in tribes today, like in tribes in Andaman or Bali, they all dance. Tribal people also dance, but it's based on worship of some kind of worship. That's what anthropologists say. And also people used to dance for in festivals, like festivals. So but I don't know. Okay, and then a scientific revolution happened based on the premise that God made the world in a rational way. So before that the world was chaos, right?
If people want to make that post hoc justification, that's fine. But that in no way says whether or not it's possible for somebody who doesn't believe in God to do science. Because that's just a completely silly claim.
Okay.
Like the
Do
if
you
we go
think
back,
that?
what I was originally saying was, what can an atheist not do that somebody who believes in God can do
Okay, so
besides waste time?
in a godless world, it would be impossible for the science to thrive. You know,
Why?
because there is no freedom of. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I don't know exactly how to explain that, but that's what based on what I read. What I
Yeah, I
the
hear people
scientific. I mean,
say
based
that
on
too, and
scientific evidence.
it's completely it's just such a dumb thing to say.
But that's what happened in Soviet Union. That's what happened in China. That's what happened in Vietnam. Things like that. They are all godless.
China has historically been
China
technologically
was
far more
historically.
advanced than a lot of other parts of the world. And then, yeah, I agree that during the well, I mean that's kind of debatable. There was a period in Europe where they were
I mean, Soviet in coming revolution. I think there was a huge
they won
censorship.
the space race. They won every single
Okay.
leg of the space race except landing a person on the moon.
Yeah, but they.
And
I mean, Chinese.
they also had wonderful composers and novelists and all kinds of
Yeah,
culturally
yeah.
relevant things.
But they were. Yeah, but they had influenced on what on the other parts of the world, like from
Great.
Shakespeare, from I think what's his name? I forgot the name. Dostoevsky had influence from Western writers, I guess. The same way, I think.
Yes,
Uh,
societies are multilateral and extremely complex, and like to say that thing A could not have happened without the other thing is just because of how complex that web is. I think that that's pretty asinine. So, can you think of anything that an atheist can't do that a believer in God can only do other than waste time?
Other than waste time,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, if you study history of humanity, all everything came from.
I'm not asking you what were the sequence of events that did occur, because that doesn't tell you that those things could not have occurred if some other like if some other antecedents hadn't also happened. If the Bible hadn't been written, would the scientific revolution have happened? There's
Okay, I would say.
I get that thing A happened before thing B, but that doesn't mean that thing A caused thing B. In fact, scientific revolution might have happened so much sooner if it weren't for a book that says witches exist and you should kill them. That kind of thinking, that kind of superstitious, dumb thinking, was the most influential thing in society, and I think we'd have progressed earlier and more rapidly if we didn't have that holding us back.
And law and morality. I mean, we wouldn't be saying all people are equal because the do good, be
Uh,
good
the
thing,
Bible never
previously.
says anything like that. God specifically chose a tribe of people to be the chosen
Right, but
people. The Bible also, you can debate as to whether or not that's what it really means, but what Christians do is they interpret the Bible to say that there were other kinds of beings like Nephilim, and they interbred with humans, and there were people that were less than human, and that's why God had to kill everybody on the earth except for like 8 people that were on a boat, for
right,
example.
right. I mean, but that doesn't mean all humans are
So
in equal,
that's
right?
an example of something that an atheist can't do. You can't come up with a secular reason to say, for example, that witches exist and you should kill them. For example, that there are human beings that aren't human beings on the planet and that they deserve death and things like that. You can't really give a secular justification for that.
I mean, egalitarianism was based on Christian theology.
I seriously doubt it.
I mean, that's what science
What we
journals and
well
all.
no what we've learned about the what we have learned in the modern age about the science of what do you call it, like moral psychology, in large part is that intuitions come first and then strategic reasoning comes second. We search for explanations to try to rationalize what our internal beliefs and biases are. People who are racist do this. They say, look, I'm not racist. I just think that blah, blah, blah. And they try to rationalize it in some way. Oh, yeah, I'm against slavery. And I'm against slavery because I'm a Christian. Really? Because your book, nowhere ever in your book does it say to abolish slavery. Even in Bible 2.0, the New Testament, it says slaves obey your masters. It says nothing at all about emancipation.
Okay, but abolitionism was a Christian movement, you might know.
It literally wasn't. It was done by people who happened to believe in Christianity because everybody believed in Christianity. Guess what the people who were against freeing the slaves... Okay, in the Western world... Susan, in the Western world, I want you to guess what religion were the people that were against abolishing slavery?
What religion? Because in the Western world, or what religion?
In the Western world, what religion did the people who were against abolishing slavery belong to?
In the Western world, maybe they might be Christians,
Yeah. So Christianity fought to preserve slavery.
No, but they were buying. Okay. So if you're talking about transatlantic,
the first
they were
people
buying slavery from African slaveholders, right? The Europeans bought slavery from African slaveholders and Native American slaveholders, and they had brutal slavery. They didn't even have a book or anything. It was on the go.
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm saying all people. Slavery was a universal phenomenon back in the days.
Yes, I know. And so the implementation of it and the abolition of it actually has almost nothing to do with Christianity. I agree.
That's a bold statement. Tom Holland is a historian, and I don't know. You mean he might have heard of that Tom Holland?
Yeah, he's Spider-Man.
No, the historian Tom Holland, British historian Tom Holland /
supernatural crime fighter. Yeah, Tom Holland.
No, you're talking about the actor, the Hollywood Tom Holland, not the. There's a historian called Tom Holland.
No, whatever.
Okay. I think no. You can write. You can blog. You can read this on Oxford blogs. How abolitionism came as a Christian movement. You can see how secularism came from Christian theology. How the separation of church and state was a Christian movement. All this,
Yeah. So again, I agree that people who happened to be Christian, for the most part, came up with concepts like the separation of church and state, although Thomas Jefferson was not at all a Christian, and Madison was kind of a Christian, but a Christian in a weird sense. I agree that a lot of them were Christians, or at least believed in God. And I agree that a lot of them justified their rationalization by saying, well, because when people do good things, they try to ground the reason they're doing good things in beliefs that they have. And when you happen to be Christian, that's what these people end up giving the credit for it. Like when a paramedic gives somebody CPR and they save their life and they go, "Oh, thank God, it was a miracle." It's like, no, you performed CPR. You saved their life. God didn't do that. Okay. What was I going to say? But if we look at the actual Bible, the Bible says, for example, "I am the Lord your God. You shall not have any other gods before me, and I will punish people who have other gods before me multiple generations down the line." There is absolutely no toleration of other religions to be found in the Bible. Not a single jot or tittle or syllable or phrase or verse or chapter or anything in that book endorses the concept of freedom of religion. Absolutely nowhere.
It says, "I will punish." God will punish those. Not people is going to punish these people. It says, "Treat the neighbors as yourself," right? Treat the Gentiles as yourself.
It also says you may capture people from the nations around you and turn them into slaves.
That's only in the war context. Okay. So in Constitution also, it says it allows the Senate to declare war during crisis, right? In American Constitution, it allows the So the same thing.
Yeah,
Just
self-defense is allowed by our
no, no, not
Constitution.
just in self-defense. USA has the right to declare war when not just in self-defense, but things go wrong.
Well, they can
In other
technically do it
parties.
for whatever reason they see fit, I guess.
Yeah, that's the same concept.
As you may go to other nations and make slaves out of them, that's the same concept.
That's you may okay. I don't slavery. You may just go to other. You can just go and pillage other nations. No,
I
no.
don't know what you're trying to do.
Okay, I'm saying is that the U.S. Constitution came from Bible, right?
It literally didn't. It is
Okay.
almost everything in it is antithetical to the Bible.
It can I read that the church fathers,
Susan,
Jefferson.
am I saying that right, or do you say it differently?
Oh, my name is L. This is my mom. I mean, I'm an immigrant.
Okay,
parents,
whatever.
so-
So, tell me, is this illegal? How do I want to say it? God doesn't exist. Is that illegal?
Is that illegal for God not to exist?
No. Is it illegal for me to say there's no such thing as God?
No, it is not illegal.
Okay, is this illegal? All hail the mighty coffee mug. Is that illegal? What I just did?
I don't know the idioms and the thing like that. I mean, I don't know what
Okay,
you're saying. I mean,
we'll
I'm
do
saying-
it. We'll
I'm
do it.
saying
We'll do it
blasphemy
more
is illegal.
simply.
Blasphemy is illegal. Are you saying that?
Yeah. For example, is blasphemy illegal?
Blasphemy is not. Blasphemy is not illegal. Yeah.
Okay. Should blasphemy be illegal?
Should blasphemy? I would say blasphemy is a cheap form of humor. I think it should be illegal.
You think blasphemy should stay
I
legal?
mean, I don't claim, but I think blasphemy is a cheap source of criticism, what they call religious criticism. But I feel like blasphemy is a childish form of religious criticism.
It's such an incredibly simple question. Do you think blasphemy should be illegal?
I don't think so. I don't.
Okay, good. What is the Bible's stance on blasphemy?
I don't think Bible has any stance on blasphemy. I mean, the prophets
the
and all,
punishment for blasphemy according to the Bible is death. Okay, so if our country was, well, we don't live in the same country, but like in the United States, if it was more, if we made our country to be more like the Bible, it would be less like what the Constitution guarantees. Is the point?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hold? Let me check something.
I can't believe I just got told. Please hold.
No, I mean, I don't remember all these on top of my head. That's why, I'm not a debater like you. Like, I'm just a drive-by.
A drive-by?
No, I'm saying I just log into social media now, and I mean, I'm not.
Ratata.
Okay. So you're denying that the U.S. Constitution is not based on Bible? Is that what
That
you're
is
saying?
correct, yes.
I mean, is that
Because
how that is taught
you
in schools?
cannot find freedom of speech or religious toleration in the Bible. You cannot find that. So let's get rid of the First Amendment. Second Amendment, I don't think the Bible is pro or against Second Amendment. I don't really see that really in any way. I'm embarrassed to say that I have literally no clue what the Third Amendment is. What the hell is the Third Amendment? Third Amendment.
Okay.
Is that the
So this
quartering?
we are
Okay,
going to
soldiers
politics.
cannot be quartered in private homes. Again, I don't think the Bible is for or against that really in any way. The Fourth Amendment, which is privacy, that's not cruel and unusual punishments as well, is it? Protects people's persons, houses, papers, and effects from unreasonable searches and seizures. So you have to have a warrant, things like that. So the Fourth Amendment is all about like personal privacy. Again, does the Bible, can I think of anything off the top of my head where the Bible says that you may go and invade the personal spaces of other people? Well, yeah, actually, I guess I can, because, you know, if a woman claims to be a virgin, there was this, but people think she might be lying. Because women were treated like property, there was an extremely what we would call assault today, an invasive procedure for going into the woman and seeing if her virginity was still intact. So that's very much against the Fourth Amendment, I would say. But also this God who sees you when you're sleeping and knows when you're awake, the God itself is incompatible with the idea of having the right to privacy. So I don't think there's anything about the Bible that you could possibly say supports the Fourth Amendment whatsoever. The Fifth Amendment protects citizens from, well, it's like, well, it does all kinds of things. You can't incriminate yourself. Man, I don't know. Forcing somebody to confess against themselves. Is there anything like that in the Bible? I wouldn't be surprised if there is. I can't think of one off the top of my head. The right to I should have taken notes. I have a really good book that goes over all this kind of stuff. But due process, I mean, the idea that in some sorts of weird ways, there is this idea of due process in the Bible, but the Bible very much takes a guilty until proven innocent type of approach to many things, or there's really no proving innocence in a lot of cases as well. There are things, you know, in the Bible where people do like have I don't know if I would call it the right or whatever, but you know, there are juries and things like that. So I would say we have conflicting points here. Anyway, go ahead. What were you going to say?
So yeah, I think we are going to politics too much, I guess. So let's take a. So I'm saying, going back to the original, like, why would you think naturalism is true? Do you think naturalism is outdated?
I
It
don't
should
think it's
be.
outdated, but as a person who sorts, like, I don't really care about winning these types of arguments. I really just care about what kind of world can be built if we follow these kinds of ideas. And naturalism, to me, is the only kind of useful worldview you could ever have. Because I'll just ask you, what can we do as a society that we can't do if we assume that there's a supernatural realm that exists versus just assuming naturalism?
Okay, so naturalism assumes that all motion, all energy, these are based on natural laws, as in 18th century, like Newtonian motion. But in 20th century, we discovered electrons, and
Electrons are not
so
supernatural.
it's not supernatural. But now
Yeah,
we
well, it's
discovered it's all based
naturalism.
on. It's not based on. It's not based on. It's wave particles. It's not based on Newtonian motion.
Naturalism simply states that everything that happens in the universe is the result of natural law unfolding according to
Yeah, but
the way it is.
right. So so when we discovered subatomic particles, we now know that it's not just based on natural laws. There are random processes. There are random moments. You can't even predict.
They're
You
not,
can't even
yep, those
predict.
things are not supernatural.
It's not supernatural, but it is not following natural order, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's not what happened in physics textbooks. That's not written, because it follows probability. You can.
Yep, because that is the natural way that those things are.
I mean, so we are yet to. We are only discovering the tip of the iceberg. So
So
what if in some
there's
way
no
we brought.
supporting evidence of supernaturalism in any of that.
Okay, so do you think humans can find out everything about the universe?
Probably not.
Okay.
Like, are you asking in principle or practically?
Okay, I'm saying, can science using scientific method be the explanation
Of
of
all
all phenomena?
natural things, if there's no such thing as the supernatural world, then I'm not really sure what limitations science would have.
Because the current separation of science and religion is posing a problem.
What?
Because the science and religion separated, right? Do you know that? Like the Noma. Have you heard of the?
I don't, I have no idea what's going on right now.
No, I'm saying science is about scientific natural world, right?
Yep.
But the that's what the definition. So as long, but we need to. There are things outside of this whatever supposedly world. Whatever is inside the world. There are things outside of this world that just discovered electronics, just last century. So there are things we have to yet
We have
discover.
never
There are,
discovered anything that is outside of this world. That has never happened.
the notion of subatomic particles was considered. I don't know. In 18th century, it would be very strange.
Yeah, because we were ignorant. We didn't discover something out of this world.
Um. Okay.
Like, I don't, you're just saying there are things we don't yet understand, therefore naturalism isn't true. That's not the case. We know a huge amount about quantum mechanics. At the time of its discovery, it was deeply mysterious, but using the principle of naturalism and in the spirit of science, investigating that unexplainable phenomenon, by using these axioms that it's all natural, it can be known, it can be discovered, it's discernible. We did that. And we didn't use any religious texts to help us do that. Nobody prayed for any of the answers. We just did secular science and math, and we discovered the answers. So, this principle of naturalism has been wildly successful in increasing our knowledge on all kinds of phenomena that began as like inexplicable phenomena.
Have you studied forensic science?
Not very much.
So for atheists, for example, if someone committed a crime and then left without any evidence, then the atheist will declare the crime has not yet been committed.
No. What the theist would do is say, "Oh, we don't know how it happened, therefore God must have killed this person." What a theist would do is take the complete lack of evidence that points in any direction and somehow claim that that is evidence in favor of something that can't even be known.
Okay.
Do you think that religion allows somebody to be redeemed?
Be redeemed?
Yeah.
Like in salvation?
Just however you think of it, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the aim of Christianity is to salvation. That's the whole purpose of
So if you have
Christianity.
religion, you can be redeemed?
Oh, is this a racist joke? Like, they do not- what your justification for atheism? Can you provide that?
Do I have a
Naturalism,
justification for Do I have a
atheism,
justification for naturalism? Well, it
or
works.
atheism.
Or atheism?
Yeah.
I don't know if you think that
Forget Christianity and everything. Forget Christianity. How do you justify atheism? Why would you think atheism is true?
atheism isn't a claim, so it doesn't require any kind of justification because it doesn't have a burden. There could be a God, but I don't believe in one. And the reason I don't believe in one is because no good evidence has ever been presented to me.
Do you think we all have? I mean, that means you have evidence for everything? Like, for example, there are a lot of cold case crimes happened all over the world. There are spies,
None of those cold case crimes are supporting evidence that therefore this person was struck down by God where they stood.
Oh, okay, not struck down by God, but do you have evidence for that? Like, whether you don't even have evidence as to how the crime was committed, or
Yeah,
whether.
but that doesn't mean that this is such classic argument from ignorance. Not knowing how something happened is not positive evidence in favor of an alternative explanation. Susie died. How did Susie die? Nobody knows. Gee, so do you think she died naturally? I don't know. Every death we've ever seen was a natural death, so hers probably was, but I don't know how it happened. Well, I believe that Sally was struck down by the mighty Juju that lives in the bottom of the sea. What evidence for that do you have? Well, you don't know how it happened. Okay, so
Okay, so I think there are things outside the human, I mean, human rational, human conscience that cannot be justified or explained by human reasoning. There are things outside that. So that
if that's true, fine. But if that's true, then you can't give any kind of justification for what it is because you just said we can't do it. If there is something beyond human consciousness and comprehension and understanding and experience, and it's outside this realm that we exist in, fine. Maybe that's true, but you can't justify that claim.
So you don't need to have justification for every claim, so no matter what, right? There might not exist a justification. So let's say you don't have let us say you don't, in your lifetime, you don't get any justification for the God claim. So you for example, you okay, so you analyze one day, and then you got to hell. What can you do? Just because you don't have the excuse that, hey, I didn't have the justification, that's why I ended up in hell. Can you not? How do you do that?
How do I do what?
So for example, let's say you ended up in hell someday.
Okay.
Can you justify your way out of hell?
I don't know because I don't know the nature of God, because any kind of God could exist. If I go to hell and I'm like, what? I don't want to be here. And God was like, haha, that was the test. Now, my child, you have seen. Now, come up to heaven with the rest of us. Yeah, sure. Maybe that's possible.
Is that easy?
Yeah. So I guess we won't see, or I guess we won't find out.
Okay.
But if we do find out, then we will find out. I mean, you're just saying, what if something that we can't know will ever happen happens? Then it'll happen. Like, this isn't interesting.
Yeah, so actually I wanted to ask something, but since I am not my second language is English, so maybe you might not have, my accent is also thick, so maybe. So yeah, I mean, I may stay here. Maybe I will come later.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.